All right, our next math skill that we need to discuss is rounding. And I know this is making you laugh because you're like, really, who needs to learn how to round? But I do this every year, and every year I still have people that do it incorrectly. So we're going to talk very, very briefly about how to round. Now, you're going to feel like you're back in elementary school because our big rule about rounding is if there's 5 or more, raise the score. If there's 4 or less, let it rest. Are you getting flashbacks now? So when you have the end of a number that you're wanting to round, if it has a 5 or greater, then you raise the next one to it. If it's 4 or less, let it rest. And in physics, I figure, you know what, let's just go to the second decimal place. That's good enough, okay? Second decimal place is going to be fine. So let's look at a couple of numbers. We're going to look at the second decimal place. So here's our decimal. Here's 1, 2. We're going to look at that 2 right there. And we want to round that 2, okay? Now, by 5 or more, raise the score, 4 or less, let it rest. We're not talking about the 2. We're not going to let the 2 rest. We're going to look behind it at the third decimal place and see what it has. So the 9 is more than 5. So we're going to raise the score of the 2 and make it 58.33. Okay, and that's how we round that number. Some people, if they get things wrong, they're tempted to just be lazy and just cut off the end of the number and make it 58.32, but that's not correct. You have to look at the third one to decide what happens to that 2, if it's going to be a 2 or it's going to be a 3. Here we have 107.5, 1, 2, 1, 3, blah, blah, blah. Again, be a little bit efficient and lazy in science. Don't write all these numbers. We're going to look at the second decimal place. Look behind it. The 2 is less than 5. It's 4 less. So we're going to let the 1 rest. It's just going to be 107.51. And that's it. That one you can just chop off and be done with it. Okay. Let's look at one more. We've got 3.5982, blah, blah, blah. We're going to affect the 9 here. Look behind it at the 8. The 8 is 5 or more, so we're going to raise the score. Now, what happens when you raise a 9? It becomes 10. So we are going to make that 9 a 0, but what happens to the 1? The 1 gets added to the 5. Okay, another place I notice people getting rounding incorrect is when they change that 9 to a 0, but then leave the 5 alone. They don't take that 1 at 10's place over to the 5 and make it a 6. So just be very careful when you're rounding up a 9 to a 10 that you move up the next number next to it as well. Okay, so this is 3.60, not 3.50. Okay. All right, so hopefully that's a little primer in rounding. We'll do some practice as we go, and hopefully this will be real quick.